Title: Earth Dad Searching for His Daughter Accidentally Conquers 3 Systems. Best HFY Stories. John Roberts was a man who never thought of himself as anything special. A middle-aged single father with a desk job in a tech company. His life had been the same predictable routine for years: work, pick up his daughter from school, dinner, and bedtime stories. That all changed when his daughter, Emily, was kidnapped. The culprits weren't local criminals or human traffickers, though. No, the ones who took his little girl were from beyond the stars. An alien empire, known as the Vorax, had invaded Earth in the dead of night, using a fleet of sleek, silver ships to pluck select humans from their homes, Emily among them. They saw humanity as a dangerous and primitive species, one that needed to be contained, and Earth's children were considered their perfect specimens for experimentation. John had no idea how, but he soon found himself aboard a ship, piloting a makeshift spacecraft built from old components in his garage, and pointing it toward the stars in pursuit of his daughter. His only goal was simple: get Emily back. But it was this very simplicity that led him down a path that would change the galaxy forever. Chapter 1: A Father's Determination. John's first stop was the Vorax-controlled station orbiting Mars, where the aliens had been transporting captured humans. But he was not prepared for the level of firepower these extraterrestrials wielded. The Vorax ships were gigantic, far more advanced than anything Earth had developed. John was no pilot. He barely knew how to fly a plane, let alone a spaceship. But when you're a dad on a mission, logic and fear tend to get thrown out the airlock. John's adrenaline-fueled drive turned his ship into an unstoppable force of nature. The Vorax never expected an unarmed, inexperienced human ship to be able to punch through their defenses. A mix of sheer luck and stubbornness allowed John to crash his way through their outer defenses, landing directly in the Vorax's holding facility. The Vorax, overwhelmed by the unexpected attack, tried to subdue him, but John fought like a man possessed. He freed the humans and escaped, and in the process, accidentally took control of the entire Vorax station. Chapter 2: An Unexpected Victory. The Vorax were not accustomed to resistance, much less from an untrained human. As he stood on the bridge of their station, holding the Vorax command center at gunpoint, John realized something terrifying. He had just defeated one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. A mere accident. The station's crew surrendered, either because they feared his will or because they genuinely underestimated the humans. Whatever the reason, they handed over the controls. John, now in command of an alien space station, had a difficult choice to make. He could either escape and go home with the humans he'd freed, or he could try to use the Vorax station as leverage to track down Emily. He chose the latter. It was a decision that set off a series of events he could never have imagined. Chapter 3: Conquest by Mistake. John didn't have a grand strategy. He had no plans to conquer the galaxy, only to save his daughter. Yet, with the Vorax station at his disposal, he couldn't ignore the power he wielded. His accidental victory had earned him an unlikely reputation among other alien factions, many of whom had always seen the Vorax as untouchable. As word spread of his success, other alien systems, previously neutral or even hostile toward Earth, began to take notice. Some sought to align with him, while others tried to seize the Vorax station from his hands. In every skirmish, John was victorious. Not through superior tactics, but through sheer willpower and unpredictability. When you've never been trained in warfare, you don't follow the rules, you break them, and that's exactly what John did. He conquered system after system, not because he wanted to, but because every fight, every accidental victory, gave him more power and influence. He wasn't a conqueror, he was a father who had never given up on finding his daughter. Chapter 4: The Unlikely Hero. By the time John found Emily, 3 star systems had fallen to his unintended campaign. The last Vorax stronghold, a heavily fortified planet in the heart of their empire, was where his daughter was being held, and it was there that John would confront the alien overlords who had once believed themselves to be untouchable. But as John looked at his daughter, safe and unharmed, he realized something profound. The galaxy wasn't ready for humanity. The Vorax had underestimated Earth, thinking it was just another backwater planet. But now, John and the other humans had shown the galaxy that humans were capable of so much more. They didn't need advanced technology or centuries of war experience to take on the galaxy's mightiest powers. All they needed was the love of a father for his daughter. The galaxy, once a vast, indifferent expanse, now had a new force to reckon with: Earth. Epilogue: Legacy of Earth's Dad. John Roberts never intended to conquer 3 star systems. He never intended to become a galactic hero. He was just a father searching for his daughter. But in doing so, he unknowingly led Earth into a new age, a time when humanity would no longer be dismissed as insignificant. They were strong, resourceful, and capable of great things, and they had John Roberts to thank for proving it. And as for John, he just wanted to go home, to his daughter, to the life they had before the stars ever got involved. But deep down, he knew Earth would never be the same again. And that was fine by him. The end. Title: Earth Dad Searching for His Daughter Accidentally Conquers 3 Systems. Best HFY Stories. Continued. Chapter 5: The Call of the Stars. Though John had achieved the impossible, rescuing his daughter and defeating the Vorax, he quickly realized that their unintended conquest had sparked a fire across the galaxy. News of his success spread like wildfire, not just among the Vorax but across countless star systems. Suddenly, Earth wasn't the isolated, insignificant planet it had once been. It was a beacon of hope, a symbol of resilience, and a warning to every empire in the galaxy: humanity was not to be underestimated. The Vorax, now completely dismantled, were on the run, their empire in ruins, but the remnants of their forces, as well as rival factions who saw the chaos as an opportunity, began to regroup. They looked at the remnants of John's accidental empire, the fleet he'd commandeered, the planets he had conquered, and saw potential. John had proven that a small, seemingly weak species could change the course of history in an instant. Now, other alien factions sought to either ally with or destroy the humans before they could grow too powerful. John knew he couldn't stop. Even though he had his daughter back, the galaxy would never leave Earth alone, and with the Vorax fractured, other enemies would soon rise to fill the power vacuum. Chapter 6: The Reluctant General. John didn't want to lead a rebellion. He didn't want to be a general, a conqueror, or a hero. He wanted to be a father, raising his daughter in peace. But with each new challenge, John found himself slipping deeper into the role he had never asked for. His accidental victories turned into reluctant alliances. John met with the leaders of other factions, most of whom were far more experienced in galactic politics than he could ever be. Some were well-meaning, others only interested in using Earth as a pawn in their own wars. But John wasn't fooled. He knew humanity couldn't afford to be anyone's pawn. Earth would need to be prepared, not just for defense, but for a future among the stars. Through negotiations, strategies, and even small-scale skirmishes, John began to form a loose alliance of human forces, allied species, and renegades. He called it the Terran Coalition, though the other species found it hard to believe a single human, who had never held a formal rank, was now at the head of it. Still, despite his inexperience, John's natural leadership and the fire that burned within him inspired those around him. The Terran Coalition grew, and Earth's role in galactic politics shifted from irrelevant to powerful. The galaxy had to face a new reality. Humanity wasn't just a bystander anymore. Chapter 7: The Galactic Reformation. The Terran Coalition's rise to power was a slow, methodical process. Earth's forces had no formal military, no fleet of advanced ships, no battle-hardened generals, but what they had was something far more dangerous: is determination. John didn't need to lead a massive army. His influence, built on the unexpected victories he'd achieved, began to shift the balance of power. His story, a father searching for his daughter, became a rallying cry for the oppressed. Those who had been enslaved by the Vorax or other galactic empires saw John as a figurehead of resistance, an example that even the weakest could stand against the galaxy's greatest powers. Soon, a number of star systems, once loyal to the Vorax or other empires, began to support Earth, even if only covertly. The Vorax had underestimated humanity's potential, but now, the Vorax were scattered, and even the mightiest of galactic forces began to rethink their tactics. They realized that Earth, with its surprising military genius and unpredictable strategies, had become a wild card in galactic politics. The galaxy wasn't ready for Earth, but it was about to learn that humanity was far from the primitive species everyone had once thought it to be. Chapter 8: The Return of Peace. Months passed, And as Earth's influence spread, John found a new purpose. He was still a father, still desperately trying to keep his daughter safe in the ever-shifting turmoil of interstellar diplomacy. But he also knew the galaxy needed a different kind of leadership, one built on the values Earth held dear: freedom, individuality, and the strength found in unity. John didn't want Earth to become just another war-hungry empire. He had seen the horrors of unchecked power, the destruction it caused. So, as the Terran Coalition's leader, John pushed for peace. He brokered treaties, brought together species that had once been at war, and worked tirelessly to ensure Earth was not a source of conflict, but a force for good in the galaxy. It wasn't easy. There were enemies who wanted to tear down everything John had built, but with Emily by his side, and with the knowledge that he had the heart and spirit of humanity on his side, he pushed forward. By the time the galaxy had realized it had underestimated Earth, it was already too late. Peace was slowly becoming a reality. And while John had once been an accidental conqueror, he was now seen as the father of a new era, one of cooperation, strength, and hope. Epilogue: The Future of Earth. John sat on the balcony of his new home, looking out at the stars. Emily sat beside him, her hand in his. They had made it. The galaxy was no longer a place of alien invaders and hostile forces. It was a place of potential, of cooperation. John never set out to be a hero. He had never wanted to conquer anything. But sometimes, the greatest victories come not from battle, but from the love of a father who refuses to give up on his child. And as Earth looked toward the stars, John knew that this was only the beginning. Humanity was no longer just a quiet, isolated planet in the universe. It was a force to be reckoned with. And if the galaxy had any doubts about humanity's place in it, John Roberts had one simple message: never underestimate the power of a dad protecting his daughter. The end. Title: Earth Dad Searching for His Daughter Accidentally Conquers 3 Systems Best HFY Stories. Continued. Chapter 9: The Ripple Effect. As the Terran Coalition expanded, so did the ripple effect of John Roberts' accidental conquests. What started as a desperate search for his daughter had turned into something much larger. The galaxy, with its immense variety of cultures, species, and histories, was now forced to confront a new player. And the humans, led by John, had made it clear that their mission was not just survival, but to ensure their future in the stars. It wasn't just the defeated Vorics who began to fear humanity's rise. A group of older, established galactic powers, beings who had thrived in their dominance for eons, began to take notice. The Kithari, a reptilian race known for their brutal, authoritarian rule, watched the growing influence of Earth with wariness. The Lamari, an enigmatic species of energy beings that had kept to themselves for millennia, began to observe the Terran Coalition's every move, worried that humanity's unpredictable rise might unravel the tenuous balance the galaxy had existed under for so long. But even in the face of growing tension, John Roberts didn't intend to conquer. His goal was always the same: peace, freedom, and security for his daughter. He had no interest in galactic power games, but the ripple effect of his accidental rise had made it impossible for him to ignore the challenges now facing Earth. Chapter 10: The Silent War. The Kithari, eager to maintain their dominance in the galaxy, saw the Terran Coalition's rise as a threat. They had been the military power for centuries, and a new competitor, unpredictable and powerful, was something they couldn't allow. Though the Kithari preferred subterfuge to direct confrontation, their attempts to sabotage Earth's fledgling alliances were subtle but relentless. They planted spies in key territories, manipulated trade routes, and tried to assassinate several key leaders within the coalition. But Earth's spirit, something the Kithari could never fully comprehend, only strengthened with each setback. John Roberts found himself in a position he had never anticipated. Not only was he fighting to protect his daughter, but now he was leading a defense for the freedom of countless others. The Terran Coalition, once a loosely organized group of renegades and opportunistic alliances, was now beginning to take shape as a formidable force. And it wasn't just Earth fighting for survival. The species that had once been subjugated by the Vorics or had lived under the threat of extinction now stood with humanity, their loyalty growing by the day. John had become more than just a symbol of human resilience. He was a beacon of hope for those who had once believed they would never have a voice in the galactic stage. Chapter 11: The Battle of Haven 6. The Kithari, growing impatient with the coalition's progress, decided to launch a direct assault on Haven 6, a strategically important system that housed several key human colonies. It was a move designed to break Earth's resolve, to show the galaxy that humanity's rise was nothing more than a temporary illusion. The Kithari fleet, massive and formidable, arrived at Haven 6 with overwhelming force. Their strategy was clear: obliterate the coalition's defenses and send a message to every system that thought to defy them. But Earth was ready. John, though no strategist, had learned quickly. He had seen the way the Kithari operated, understood their arrogance, and used it against them. His forces, smaller in number but united in purpose, fought with a ferocity and resourcefulness the Kithari had never anticipated. Using a combination of guerrilla tactics, surprise strikes, and sheer human ingenuity, the Terran coalition turned the battle in their favor. The Kithari, who believed victory was assured, found themselves trapped in the gravity well of Haven 6, surrounded by an unpredictable and highly adaptable enemy. The battle was long, grueling, and brutal, but it was a victory for Earth. The Kithari fleet was destroyed, and their forces were forced to retreat. But the true victory wasn't just military. The message had been sent. Earth wasn't going to bend. Humanity had proven it could stand against the galaxy's most powerful forces. Chapter 12: The Diplomatic Gamble. As the Terran coalition continued to grow stronger, the older galactic powers realized they couldn't ignore humanity any longer. The Kithari were retreating, the Vorics scattered, and a new era was emerging, one that involved Earth on the galactic stage. John Roberts knew this moment would come. As a father, he had always done his best to teach Emily that power wasn't the end goal. Wisdom, compassion, and fairness were the true keys to lasting peace. Now, he was about to put those lessons into action. The Galactic Council, a coalition of the most influential species and factions in the galaxy, extended an invitation for Earth to join the discussions. It was a critical moment, a moment that could shape the future of the galaxy. John didn't want to be a part of the Council's power games, but he knew that if Earth was to survive and thrive, they had to take part in the larger galactic community. In a bold diplomatic gamble, John agreed to attend the meeting with a simple proposition: Earth wanted peace, unity, and a future where no species ruled over another. He didn't come to the table as a conqueror or an empire builder, but as a father who had lost everything for the sake of his daughter and his people. The negotiations were tense, with factions vying for influence and power. The Kithari, though wounded, still had allies within the council, and they sought to undermine Earth's position. But John, with his quiet strength and unyielding resolve, didn't back down. His message was simple: the galaxy was large enough for everyone, and Earth would not stand idly by while others sought to dominate. After hours of intense debate, Earth was granted a seat at the table, a seat that came with the promise of a new era for the galaxy. Humanity would no longer be just a player on the sidelines. They would be a guiding force for cooperation, diplomacy, and peace. Epilogue: The Legacy of a Father's Love. As John Roberts walked back to his quarters after the meeting, he found Emily waiting for him. Her eyes, full of curiosity and wonder, met his. "Did you do it, Dad?" she asked. John smiled, pulling her into a hug. "We did it, sweetheart. We're part of the galaxy now, but the fight for peace is never over." Together, they watched the stars, knowing that no matter where the future took them, humanity had made its mark. John Roberts had started as just a father searching for his daughter, but he had ended up shaping the fate of an entire galaxy. And for him, that was enough. The end. Title: Earth Dad Searching for His Daughter Accidentally Conquers 3 Systems Best HFY Stories, continued. Chapter 13: The Seeds of a New Era. With Earth now firmly entrenched within the Galactic Council, John Roberts found himself in a new role, a symbol of what could be accomplished when love and determination drove a person to the extreme. Despite the newfound recognition, the demands on his time and leadership grew exponentially. Earth was no longer an isolated planet, but a beacon of hope and resistance. But along with the praise came challenges that John could never have predicted. As the newly established ambassador of Earth, John found himself juggling more than just diplomatic missions. The galaxy, for all its diversity and sophistication, was still rife with tension, old rivalries, political maneuvering, and age-old prejudices simmered beneath the surface. The Kithari still held grudges, and other factions watched Earth's rise with distrust. But John refused to yield to fear. He had seen firsthand how Earth could rise above impossible odds. He had learned that diplomacy, like everything else, required patience and a willingness to do what others were too afraid to attempt. However, even as Earth's presence in the galaxy grew, there was still the ever-present threat of new powers emerging, alien species that would see humanity's rise as an affront. As the leader of Earth's coalition, John had to prepare for a time when diplomacy wouldn't be enough. Chapter 14: The Birth of the Terran Armada. While John focused on his diplomatic efforts, there was one critical task that couldn't be ignored: Earth's defense. Though the Kithari were beaten and the Vorix scattered, the universe was vast, and enemies could come from any corner. The Terran coalition needed a force strong enough to defend Earth and its allies, should the need arise. It wasn't enough to rely on Earth's guerrilla tactics or the repurposed technology they had acquired through their previous victories. John knew that Earth needed its own armada, an organized fleet of ships capable of standing toe-to-toe with any threat the galaxy could throw at them. With the help of Earth's best engineers, scientists, and newly allied species, the Terran Armada was born. A fleet designed not only for defense but for the promotion of peace. These ships would symbolize the strength of humanity, but also its dedication to protecting the helpless and standing against tyranny. The first Terran ships were a far cry from the vast fleets of the galactic empires, but they were uniquely human. They were equipped with advanced technology but powered by Earth's ingenuity and the spirit of its people. Each ship was a testament to humanity's ability to adapt, innovate, and overcome the impossible. John knew the Armada wasn't just about warfare, it was a tool for peace, a deterrent that could stop enemies in their tracks while sending the message that Earth would not back down. Chapter 15: The Galactic Scourge. The peace that Earth had fought so hard for was fragile. For all the progress humanity had made, a new enemy loomed, a threat unlike any they had faced before. The Galactic Scourge was an ancient race, long forgotten by most of the galaxy. Their existence had been a myth, a legend told by the oldest civilizations, but now, they had resurfaced, emerging from the dark corners of space, where time itself seemed to slow. They were the ultimate conquerors, ruthless and efficient in their methods. The Scourge believed that all civilizations, no matter how advanced, were destined to serve them or perish. When they arrived at the edges of the Terran Coalition's reach, they sent a single message to Earth: surrender or be destroyed. The Scourge's arrival couldn't have come at a worse time. The Kithari, still licking their wounds, began to stir again, seeing the Scourge as a new threat that could potentially obliterate Earth's progress. But John Roberts refused to bow to fear. This was not the galaxy he had fought for, and it was certainly not the future he would let his daughter inherit. Chapter 16: The Unlikely Alliance. Facing the Scourge required more than just a Terran armada. Earth needed allies, more than it had ever needed before. The battle to stop the Scourge couldn't be fought alone. For the first time since Earth's rise to galactic prominence, John Roberts stood before the Galactic Council and asked for help, not from the weak and disenfranchised, but from the most powerful factions in the galaxy. The Kithari, despite their animosity toward humanity, were the first to step forward. They had no love for the Scourge and recognized the need to work together, even if grudgingly. The Lamari, still silent and mysterious, offered their knowledge of energy manipulation, a power that might help Earth counter the Scourge's devastating weapons. Even some of the more neutral and lesser-known species, who had been living in the shadows of galactic politics, offered support. It was clear to them that if the Scourge triumphed, no one in the galaxy would be safe. Humanity, with its unique approach to leadership, had become the rallying point for a truly unprecedented alliance. John knew that this was no longer just a war for Earth's survival, it was a war for the future of the galaxy itself. Chapter 17: The Final Battle. The Terran Armada, bolstered by their new allies, faced off against the Scourge in a battle that would define the galaxy's future. The Scourge, as predicted, were ruthless and relentless, using their vast fleets to overwhelm their enemies with sheer force. Their weaponry was advanced, their tactics brutal, but the Terran Coalition's forces were unified by one simple truth: they had everything to lose, and they would not go down quietly. The battle raged for weeks, with both sides suffering immense losses. The Scourge's ships were huge and imposing, but they had never faced a force quite like Earth's. The Terran Armada's ships, though smaller and less technologically advanced, had something the Scourge couldn't predict: heart. Each ship was manned by humans and their allies, willing to sacrifice everything to protect what they had fought for. It was John Roberts himself who made the final push. In a desperate move, he led a small, specialized force straight into the heart of the Scourge's flagship. The odds were stacked against them. He knew it was a one-way mission, but he had made peace with that. His role, from the beginning, had never been about becoming a hero. It had always been about making sure Earth and his daughter survived. In a spectacular display of human ingenuity and unexpected cunning, the Terran forces crippled the Scourge flagship, taking down their central command and crippling their fleet. The tide of the war turned, and the Scourge, once so sure of their victory, were forced to retreat into the void. Epilogue: A New Dawn. The galaxy was forever changed. John Roberts had started as just a man looking for his daughter. He had stumbled into galactic conquest, forged alliances, and fought for peace. And in doing so, he had not only saved his homeworld but shaped the future of countless species. Earth, now firmly entrenched in galactic affairs, was a power to be reckoned with, but not a power that sought to dominate. Humanity, under John's leadership, had proven that strength was not measured by the number of ships in a fleet, but by the will to protect the weak, stand against tyranny, and fight for what was right. As the Terran coalition moved forward, it was no longer just Earth's fight. It was a fight for the galaxy's future, a fight to ensure that peace, freedom, and justice would reign throughout the stars.